Several weeks ago, viewers were shown a dramatic preview of Emmerdale's Dr. Caitlin Todd lying lifeless in a pool of blood. That revelation made it clear that someone would eventually stand up to the dangerous doctor. But the identity of the person responsible remained a mystery. Fans were left wondering who would finally seek revenge. Could Charity Dingle decide to retaliate after what Todd did to her? Might Mac Boyd attempt to punish the woman who had harmed his wife? Or perhaps Vanessa Woodfield would take matters into her own hands and fight for Charity. Surprisingly, none of those theories turned out to be correct. The person behind Todd's death was Sarah Sugden. The shocking chain of events began when Todd turned up at Charity's house and confronted her. She had returned to the village after spending a drunken afternoon with Manpreet Sharma, whom she had driven home afterward. Once Todd was back at her own place, Vanessa arrived and angrily confronted her. Todd tried to manipulate Vanessa in her usual calculating manner, but Vanessa refused to be intimidated. She openly branded Todd a rapist before eventually making her way to Jacob's fold. Vanessa had expected to find Charity frightened and vulnerable, but instead, she came face to face with a much stronger survivor who was prepared to confront the woman who had hurt her. The tense confrontation between Charity and Todd was the dramatic showdown viewers had been waiting for, with Charity managing to unsettle the normally confident doctor. Charity insisted that Todd admit what she had done, but Todd remained unwilling to confess. Their heated exchange was overheard, and shortly afterward, Todd was left dead. Although Todd's death was not deliberately planned, Sarah was ultimately responsible for what happened. The situation quickly becomes frightening for everyone involved, forcing Serena Sugden and Charity to take immediate action. Serena initially attempts to make the incident appear to be an act of self-defense, while Charity takes the blame and claims that she was responsible. Both women are determined to protect Sarah, but DS Ramsden is far too experienced to accept their story without question. Charity and Serena privately discuss how they can handle the situation, only to be interrupted when DS Ramsden arrives looking for more information. Meanwhile, Jacob Sugden begins to suspect that something is seriously wrong. Sarah's unusual behaviour makes him believe that she is hiding something, although he promises not to push her for answers. His growing trust in Sarah leaves her feeling increasingly guilty, and she starts considering whether she should finally tell him the truth. However, Charity refuses to allow her to confess and makes a major decision. Rather than change her story, Charity chooses to stand by her confession and prepare herself for whatever consequences may follow. But could Serena draw on her previous experience with the police to find a way to help Charity escape the situation? It may seem surprising to describe Emmerdale's Kev Townsend as someone's idea of a dream come true. A nightmare after too much cheese might sound more appropriate. Yet Bradley Riches, who plays Kev's long-lost son Lewis Barton, sees things very differently. The actor recently opened up about what it has been like working alongside two of the Dale's toughest characters, Kev Townsend and Lewis's half-brother, Ross Barton, with Kane Dingle excluded from the competition, of course. Since Lewis's traumatic kidnapping ordeal, the relationship between Kev and Ross has been anything but peaceful. The pair have repeatedly clashed, creating plenty of tension whenever they share the same space. However, Bradley admits that working with both actors has been a fantastic experience, and something he considers a genuine career highlight. He explained that having the three characters together makes for an entertaining combination, because each of them has a completely different personality and outlook. Kev is quick-tempered and impulsive, while Ross can also lose his temper, but tends to have a more calculating and sneaky side. Lewis, meanwhile, approaches situations very differently from both of them. That contrast creates an interesting dynamic, especially because Ross has become used to thinking of himself as both Lewis's brother and a father figure in his life. Now Kev has arrived and believes he knows what is best for his son, something Ross will undoubtedly struggle to accept. Lewis, however, knows that he should ultimately be the one deciding what is right for his own life. The complicated relationship between the three men became even more intense after Ross was forced to work with Kev to rescue Lewis from his kidnapping ordeal. Back in June 2026, Ross tracked down Kev because Lewis had been taken by Kev's vengeful former girlfriend, Kylie. Her bizarre motive involved an accusation that Kev had stolen her diamond necklace, a piece of jewelry supposedly connected to her deceased cat. Thankfully, Lewis was eventually rescued. But the situation became even more complicated when Kev decided to remain in the village and reveal that he was Lewis's biological father. Ross was furious about Kev's decision and immediately worried that the former criminal would eventually return to his old ways and end up hurting Lewis emotionally. The irony was not lost on viewers, considering Ross himself had previously been involved in a plan to kill his own brother, Pete Barton. Their hostility soon became physical. During one confrontation, Ross knocked Kev unconscious, while Kev later got his revenge by punching Ross during another heated encounter in the countryside. According to Bradley, however, viewers have not yet seen the full extent of their rivalry. He suggested that Ross and Kev will continue struggling to understand one another, because both men genuinely believe they are protecting Lewis. At times, one of them may be right, while the other is wrong, and occasionally, they could both have a point. Building trust between the two men is therefore likely to take considerable time. Despite the ongoing hostility, Bradley remains optimistic that the situation could eventually improve. He would love to see a future where Ross, Kev, and Lewis can sit down together, enjoy a drink, and actually get along. He believes Ross may gradually realize that Kev is not the villain he initially assumed him to be, and that his main intention is simply to remain close to Lewis and support him. For the moment, though, Bradley is enjoying his scenes with Chris Coghill. The pair recently shared a more emotional father and son moment following a bike ride that went wrong, eventually finding themselves lying on the grass while opening up about their pasts. Bradley clearly hopes there will be plenty more scenes like that in the future. He has also praised Chris for being an unpredictable and highly instinctive performer, describing him as both bonkers and brilliant. According to Bradley, working with Chris has taught him a great deal, because every take can feel completely different. Rather than simply following a fixed approach, Chris brings new energy to each performance, allowing the actors to react naturally and build the scene together. For Bradley, that unpredictability makes their scenes especially enjoyable and gives him the freedom to trust his instincts and see where the moment takes them. Emmerdale fans are convinced they have worked out who Nicola King could become romantically involved with next, and it may not be Kev Barton. Nicola, portrayed by Nicola Wheeler, joined the long-running ITV soap in 2011 and quickly became one of the village's most recognizable personalities. Known for keeping up with everyone's business, she soon became a popular figure among viewers. Over the years, Nicola has found herself at the center of several major storylines. She has endured difficult experiences involving both physical and emotional trauma, while her long-running relationship with Jimmy King has remained one of the most important parts of her life in the Dales. Recently, however, Nicola's personal life has become increasingly complicated. She has been dealing with the arrival of Kev Barton, who returned to the village, determined to build a relationship with his biological son, Lewis. At the same time, Nicola's marriage to Jimmy has been going through a difficult period, with Nicola desperately attempting to bring their relationship back to life. Earlier this year, reports also suggested that Jimmy could be heading for an exit after spending many years in the soap. Rumours surrounding his possible departure intensified when the return of his former wife, Sadie King, was confirmed. Her comeback has led some viewers to wonder whether her arrival could play a role in Jimmy's eventual exit. With Jimmy's future apparently uncertain, fans have started speculating about what could happen to Nicola if she is left alone. Some viewers have suggested that Kev could become Nicola's next romantic partner, particularly given his recent arrival and his complicated connection to the King family. However, another unexpected name has now been suggested by fans: Jai Sharma. On an Emmerdale fan page, viewers discussed the possibility of Nicola and Jai becoming a couple if Jimmy were to leave the village. One fan suggested that Nicola and Jai should start a relationship after Jimmy's death, while another agreed that the two characters could actually work well together. A third viewer admitted that such a pairing would not necessarily be the most surprising relationship the soap has ever created. Nicola and Jai have both been part of Emmerdale for many years, and their characters have crossed paths on numerous occasions. They have been involved in dramatic storylines, workplace disagreements, and various disputes as neighbours. Their contrasting personalities could potentially create an unusual but entertaining romantic storyline if the writers decided to take their relationship in that direction. Meanwhile, speculation surrounding Jimmy's future continues to grow. Earlier reports claimed that the character was being lined up for an exit as the soap looked for ways to reduce costs. A source reportedly suggested that once the decision was made for Nick Miles to leave, The writers concluded that Jimmy would be unlikely to simply walk away from his wife and children. As a result, the character could potentially face a much more dramatic departure. If Jimmy is eventually killed off, Nicola could find herself facing a completely new chapter of her life. And viewers are already wondering whether Jai might be the unexpected man who steps into it. Emmerdale airs Monday to Friday at 8 p.m. on ITV1 and ITVX.